Okay, I am working on the color map for the Mad City Paddlers vertical banner here. So I couldn't find an easy source of all the information I needed, so I'm basically piecing this together piece by piece using the Wisconsin trout stream maps by county. Open the PDF up in Illustrator, and luckily all of the different layers that this would have been in and whatever software they originally used for these is put everything into at least clip groups, so it's relatively easy to find everything. But it looks like they had different people working on them because there's different methodologies. So the goal here is that I work on the file originally to clean up all of this stuff. That I don't need. Basically I want county boundaries, large water masses, actual rivers and streams, and then major roads. And I've been keeping the county labels because it makes it a little easier to manage everything as I'm going through. I know where most of these are and how they relate to each other, but it makes it just a little easier. Plus I'll use some of that text I will have the county labels on the finished product. Okay, so now I have everything visible that I need, so I'm going to get rid of all the stuff I don't. And usually it's been between 6 and 8 final layers that I need. Lock everything else, and then my next step is to remove all the, I'm doing a select same stroke color to get rid of all of the county roads and side roads, and then I'm also getting rid of all of the county roads that look like this. I'm selecting the same stroke weight to get rid of those. I don't know for sure how many roads I'll keep in the final product, but the roads have proven the best thing for resizing. Unfortunately, these aren't to the same scale, so it's proven a little challenging. Of course, I wasn't smart enough initially to just use the scale that's in the map to help scale everything appropriately, but that doesn't really matter. And so it looks like I've got everything I need. So I will unlock. Oh, and then the last step I've been doing is trying to cut out the clipping masks. Good. So I select it all. Make sure that paste, remember, is layers. And then I paste in my county. I could probably make it a little easier on myself by cleaning up some of the river data right away, but it's not proven to be totally necessary yet. And the tricky part is to find something. Yeah, I suppose maybe in the future I could use the scale that's in those maps. Maybe keep that, and that might help me get the scale right here. But usually I've just been picking a a road that matches one. There we go. That's a simple enough one. Which is why I've kept some of this stuff outside of the clipping mask for the other counties, because it helps me find a comparable item. So I release the clipping mask there. Oh, I don't need to ungroup that. I think. Nope, I do. Unfortunately, with the width and the height of stuff is grouped, it doesn't work properly. Which is why I keep a few of the other counties available initially. Okay, so, oh shoot, it looks like that isn't separate like I thought it was. Some of these are compound paths, unfortunately. Darn it. So when that happens, I've got to do a little surgery, create another copy of that, and delete out the stuff I don't need. Oh, and I guess that one's a... the way some of this stuff is created is interesting. Important part is to make sure whatever I get is the same. This would be a little easier if I'd done this in the original order I was going to do it, which is to put in Monroe County first, because then I'd have the reference that I could use the bottom of this to scale things correctly. Okay, so this one is 1.5 inches high. And the other one is 2.127 inches high. So I need to scale that to 74.283%. Let's get rid of those. And actually layer 1 is now La Crosse County. And now I will scale that to 74.283%. Not scaling the strokes and effects, because that's the one thing they kept all the same. All the strokes are the same, which is actually, in this case, probably a good thing. Well, actually, if the strokes weren't scaled, that would be the easy way for me to figure out the conversion ratio on all this. So then the next step that's tricky is finding an equivalent spot to allow me to match this up exactly. And looks like we're good there. Excellent. And then I'll finish. Go ahead and save that. I will close out that lacrosse color. And I'll go ahead and finish the Monroe that I was working on. I just wanted to show the whole process. So I'm pretty sure I've got everything. Yep, removed all the roads. Oh, and haven't, still gotta remove the clipping masks here. There we go. Go ahead and copy that. And then I'll let me lock some of these other layers. Go ahead and paste this in. Rename that as Monroe County. Yeah, and the methodology on this was different on some of these. And some they had the actual county that the map was for as its own outline, but others, like this lacrosse one, it was all a combined layer with everything in it. Okay, so then I need to get, what's a good item here? In this case, I'm going to use the some of this county information. I've been making a habit of pulling all that stuff out of simple case here is I can basically measure so don't need that piece. right. Still don't think I got it. There we go. There we go. That one was a little harder than usual. So that's the width we're comparing to. And it's not always perfect, but the goal is to get as close to perfect as we can. Okay, so this time we're going 8.542 divided by 8 point. So this one was actually pretty close already. So 97%. That one will be 97.035%. The trick again is to find a spot that I can sometimes requires deleting out a small tributary to make some space. Boom. Great, those are on top of each other. Awesome. Okay, so now for this county, I'm going to save that. For La Crosse and Monroe County and Juneau, I've got two rivers to deal with. One is the La Crosse River, and the other one is the Lemonware. Black River Falls technically briefly goes into Monroe County, but I'll deal with that later when I bring in the Jackson County map. So now the fun part of this is finding everything I actually need. So I no longer need Vernon's information. And then I try to work my way. I'm actually going to put Monroe behind La Crosse for now. I've got to ungroup everything. Makes it a little easier to find the river I'm looking for. So now I'm just looking to piece together everything from La Crosse River. Of course, it has a couple dams on it and some impoundments, so I'll have to get those separately. Good news is there's some good logic to how this is all set up. Oh! Unfortunately, some of the Monroe, I needed 2 ungroups, so now I gotta start over. But the goal is to start at the confluent, or at the mouth, and work my way up. In this case, the way I did it by putting La Crosse in front, and it guarantees that I'm grabbing the La Crosse version of all this to make sure it's all contiguous. Okay, that's the entire river, so I'll copy that, and then I'll, I need to undo paste remembers layers, and then I'll paste in place in the new layer. And then I need to grab the 1 impoundment, and I'll do that by selecting it inside here, copying that, and then I'll paste that into my lakes layers, which has lakes and impoundments and like the Mississippi boundary. There we go. And that is the La Crosse River. And then I need to grab, oh yeah, and that's right, there's some of the there is a section of the Baraboo River that I need to grab. Yep. And Baraboo ends right there. So copy that. Paste that into. It's amazing how the headwaters of the Baraboo, Kickapoo, and Lemonweir are all like ridiculously close to each other. Okay, now I'll get Juneau, put that back up on top, and put Monroe back up on top of La Crosse. So I can go grab Lemonweir. Unfortunately, that thing is like crazy windy. So finding the actual through, oh, yeah, I need to ungroup it. It's definitely more of a, it's more of a art than a science. The good news is you just watch what comes in contact with what, figure out where stuff goes. Oh yeah, looks like I got it right. Yeah, I might need to add Yellow River later on, so I might leave some of that in there, but so I'll copy that, paste that into rivers. And I'll go get the rest of the Baraboo River, which oh no, I did that already. So now I can hide a bunch of these layers. I handled Wisconsin a little bit separately. I'm making these a little heavier than they probably will ultimately be, but I try to group. Oh, don't want to do it that way. Since I do have the other stuff in a separate layer. So I usually try to group this stuff as I go. In this case, I'll group the whole Baraboo together. I already have a label on that, so that's good. Undo that layer. And right now I'm not worrying about too much about where the stuff's placed. I gotta, once I look at all the everything I need and where everything's located, roads and everything, I'll add all that stuff later. And I'll just keep that in all caps. There's the La Crosse River. And there we have all the main paddles that are in Monroe County. And obviously eventually we'll add back in some of this other information. Gradually I go through and remove the stuff I know I don't need. So for example, for La Crosse, now I'm going to go ahead and delete out, because it uses up a fair amount of memory to have so many paths in here. I'll go through and lock some other stuff. I'll do a select, same stroke color to delete out all the excess paths there. And also delete out any other random stuff that's in the way. Then the only other thing I need to do, say for La Crosse, is that I've been gradually going through and grabbing all the Mississippi River stuff for the boundary but I'll just do that a little bit later. But now we can see between La Crosse and Monroe, gradually all the different pieces are getting put together. And I'll just have to go through and I'm gradually removing all the stuff I don't need. So I'm just keeping state highways, freeways, I think is pretty much the level of detail I've got here. And then I will ultimately keep I'll redo them, but I'll keep some of the community names just so that it's easier for us. The whole idea is we're going to put dots on this map once it's done. But now if I hide those layers, we can see how far I am. So I've got a total of 15 counties done out of the 72. There's a few that aren't going to have any rivers and stuff in them, like Adams County. And a couple, there's 5 counties that there aren't trout stream maps, so I'm hoping all the overlap will spill into that enough. Okay. But gradually getting there. The whole idea is just to have only as much detail as we need. This whole map will end up being about 32 inches wide on the banner that I'm designing and putting it on. There we go, folks. I'll see everyone at Cornucopia in a couple weeks.